What if the next pet owner who chooses your veterinary practice never really searches the way they used to? Instead of scrolling through 10 websites or comparing multiple clinics, they may now be asking an AI assistant what to do, where to go, and which practice to trust. And that shift is changing the veterinary client journey faster than many practices realize. Welcome back to the Veterinary Business Podcast. I'm your host for this session, Don Adeesha, and joining us for this conversation is none other than our very own co-host, Naren Arulrajah, CEO of Ekwa Marketing, founder of the Veterinary Business Institute. And Naren has spent his career helping independent veterinary practices improve their digital presence, attract better clients, and build more sustainable growth in a changing marketing landscape. Now, today, Naren will walk us through how AI is changing the way pet owners discover, evaluate, and choose veterinary practices. Naren, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thank you so much. I think this topic, how AI is rewriting the veterinary client journey or how veterinary practices are being chosen, I think is a really important topic because it is happening as we speak. Thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation, Don.
Absolutely. It's a pretty exciting topic. Now, how is the client journey evolving with AI from the moment a pet owner has a concern to the point they choose a veterinary practice?
This is a great question, right? I still remember the early days of search. And dating myself, I think Google became a company in 1998. So that's almost 30 years ago. And I remember this was in 2000. Somebody just told me about this thing called Google, and I started playing with it. I remember in those days, the only search you could do if you're looking for anything to do with veterinarians is, veterinarian city name, right? So that's the amount of depth or precise question you could ask Google. Over time, Google built millions of servers and, invested, I guess, hundreds of billions of dollars in being able to answer every detailed question you can ever imagine and answer it precisely. So you don't have to go figuring out those answers. And what AI has done is accelerate that shift, because what is AI? AI is artificial intelligence. And what it's doing is it's able to go through all the information on the internet, all the information that's available in the world, and figure out what the exact precise answer is, for your question. And again, I don't want to get into large language models and how it works, even though I have a computer science degree, but just understand that AI is this genie that can tell us anything precisely, so you don't have to go and figure things out. So when, humans are, known for one thing, which is anytime we give them a tool that makes a massive difference, they start using it and using it and using it more and more. So if you look at Google search volume, thanks to AI, it's up 15-20% in the last year. I mean, their stock price is now the second most valuable company on the planet. Why? We use Google billions and billions of times a day, and we don't really care if the answer is coming from AI, coming from Google Maps, coming from regular search, or coming from, there are two parts of AI mode and AI overview. AI overview is the simple, quick answer from AI. AI mode is where it goes and does deep research and gives you a much more thorough answer. And we are using it, literally, 12 plus billion times a day. So that's the world we live in. So as consumers get more used to being able to get precise answers for what they want, they are becoming more demanding. In other words, they don't want to go to the wrong website. They don't want to be recommended the wrong business. They don't even want to have to click multiple times. So a lot of times the answers are even embedded. So for example, if you look at Google Maps, you don't need to go to the website. You can literally click there and call the office. You can literally read how many stars they have, how many reviews they have, and look at some of the recent reviews or some of the most popular reviews. So Google is making it so easy where the number of clicks you have to do, because in Google's mind, the more they have to click, the less happy the customer is going to be, because now they have to go discover things. Google wants you to not to have to discover things and for you to depend on Google. Of course, the other AI search search engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, they're all doing this. But the reason I focused on Google is because Google is 20, 25 times bigger than these other guys. And of course, we don't want to ignore the other guys in case they become big. But I really, really think when it comes to the consumer side of AI, it's going to be impossible to use Google. Why? Because people are creatures of habit. When they use a product, billions of, dozen times every day, and it gets better and better and gives them better and better answers and helps them even more and faster and so forth, they have less reason to go to a third party. And also Google has all the, website owners on its side, all the people who have been doing anything to do with internet marketing on its side, because they have been using Google tools to build their marketing, build how things work. And Google also has provided tools like Google Analytics that, again, the website owners can use to, really master and do well here. So things like the move towards zero-click search, the move towards answers versus, links, these are all driving a different way of people using it. So this is going to get even more interesting. There's going to be the haves and the have-nots. The haves are the ones, pre-AI, it was around 5% of people got 95% of the free business from, search engines like Google. But I think that number is going to shrink to even 3%, which is good for Google. Now, even more people have to buy ads as the only other way to get, clients walking in. The problem with ads is, in my experience, is 5 to 10 times more expensive than, you showing up in the top 3% and you really dominating Google. And I think that number is even growing now. I think it's becoming even 10 times more expensive. Why? Google wants to charge more and more money for every click and make more and more money. And the second thing is people know it's an ad. For ethical reasons, Google can't not call it an ad. So when the minute it's labeled as an ad or, sponsored link or whatever, people don't trust it. So you're going to have a lot of people no showing. You're going to have a lot of tire kickers. You're going to have people coming to your website and leaving because the tiniest things, turns them off. And Google doesn't care. Remember, the more people Google can have clicked and go to your website, the more money it makes. So they don't care that they come and leave. So these are all the reasons why I think, you have to adapt in this AI first world.
Right. Links to answers and zero-click searches. That's what we are in for as we head towards an AI age. So let's also talk about AI assistants, right? AI assistants are recommending businesses. So what determines whether a veterinary practice gets recommended or overlooked? What are we looking at there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm going to get a little technical here and share some technical things, and feel free to take notes. Feel free to, see if these things are happening, or later on, I'll give you a way for you to find out if these things are happening or not. First thing that has become even more important is what Google and the big players in the internet call structured data, right? Google is going through billions of websites, so much information. So it needs a way to make sense of it all. So one of the ways it makes sense of it all is called through a methodology called NAP. NAP stands for name, address, phone number. There are many websites on the internet like Yelp, like City Search, like Google, like Facebook, that have listings of businesses. So they have a name for your business, they have an address for your business, and they have a phone number for your business. And unfortunately, these, there's probably like 100 plus top, websites where your name, address, and phone number are listed. They don't work for you. They try to make money through ads. So they really have no incentive to help you because you don't pay them, and, and it's not how the world works. So you have to now manually go in and check your name, check your address and phone number, and make sure it's precise. Like, for example, if you in your address in one place, road is ROAD, the other place it's RD, and so forth. That's not consistent structured data. So you get dinged for it. Now we do what we call a marketing strategy meeting, and we look for these things. Like a lot of times when we notice a practice is not in that top 3%, they suck at NAP. Now NAP is not the only thing. There are other things, but NAP is a huge thing. So we have a massive team of people who are monitoring these things. Like recently I was talking to a client who has been with us for a couple of years. We are managing 60 different NAP profiles for them, meaning we're checking them consistently. We are looking for any kind of issues that crop up, because remember, these are all independent websites run by independent people with all kinds of tools and automations and so forth. So a lot of times you don't even create the problem, but the problem gets created, and it's all like internet is this huge blob of, things working together, in a very disconnected way. So Is anybody watching it? Anybody fixing it? And 99% of the time when we do the marketing strategy meeting, none of the people we take on as clients have anybody on top of this. And the reason is it's hard. And most marketing companies don't tell the clients the hard things because, of course, if they do tell the clients the hard things, they have to now be accountable for it. So they don't even talk about it. So now we take a different approach. Our entire focus is in helping our clients get into that top 3% when it comes to AI search, regular search, and like dominate, like crush the competition. So of course we focus on it because, to dominate consistently for every single client and have every single client rank for 100 or more keywords or 100 or more different kinds of searches, you can't ignore this. This is so important. The next thing I would look at is, reviews. Reviews are becoming more important today, and especially what I call paragraph reviews or love letter reviews. Why? In those paragraph reviews, people may have used phrases like, they treated me like family, emergency care. And Google knows these are the sentiments people are looking at when they're making, either it's a service or the type of service like emergency care, or it's the sentiment like, treated me like family that people want to know when they're making a choice. So Google will even highlight these sentiments. And we are noticing both Google's AI overview and AI mode, as well as these independent AI search engines also looking at it to decide who gets shown and who doesn't. It's not the only thing. The other thing that they look at even more closely is content. And I'll get to that next. So, and the quality of the content and how it's written and all of that stuff. But I'll get into that technical side next. So focus on getting 10 or more 5-star paragraph reviews every month. I think that should be the minimum number, because in Google's eyes, if you're not getting 10 or more high quality 5-star paragraph reviews, that's really feeding it, information on that you still are what you used to be. You still are awesome. And these are the 7 reasons why people love you. Then Google starts, deprioritizing you. It doesn't happen quickly, but if you stop getting consistent reviews over time, we see a hit. Now, if you're doing everything else, this might be, not be as important. It's kind of like getting into a top university, right? If your SAT is like 1600 out of 1600, and your GPA is like perfect and interview is perfect, maybe essay was not that great. Maybe they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Why? Because you are crushing everything else. So that's a way to think about it, and definitely continue to lean in on getting these reviews. I know it's not easy, but we have a methodology. If anyone is interested, ask us for the methodology. Just go to the website and we'll send you how we encourage our clients to get 5-star paragraph love letter reviews. The last thing is content. And here, AI has become a problem. Like Google knows 10 miles away that a content is written by AI or it's written by humans. How do they know it? Of course, that's a proprietary secret. But if it's written by AI, they beat you up. They really punish you for it. Why? Because Google wants you to add value and be helpful. So if you are just using an AI to write it, of course, you're not adding any value. So why would Google send you traffic? This is why they hated copied content. That has been going on for years and years. Even if you copy more than 5% of something from any other website, or even if they copy from you, both of you will get penalized. Why? Remember, Google makes so much money from ads, so they have to find more and more reasons and make the criteria for you being in the top 3%, more and more stringent. So they find every reason to beat you up. So please, don't use AI content. Have content written by real people who know the topic, who can write things the way Google wants. And last but not least, Google also wants to know the content is associated with an expert. Like you have a degree, you are board certified. So make sure Google knows that. Make sure the university, when you graduated, all those things are written in the way Google loves. So there's an acronym called EEAT. Google loves acronyms. So they tell you how to do that. So your pages, on your website has to include that. The other point I would make is when you're getting extra education or qualification, try to get it from, universities. Why? Google believes that universities have been around for a long time and therefore must be good, versus some person who ran a weekend course that Google really has no way to verify if they are an expert or not, right? So it's unfortunately, that's a bias that helps universities. I'm not saying universities are better or not. It's just that it's a reality we have to deal with. So continue to create original content, continue to publish them, make sure it's not AI driven, and make sure it's linked to your qualifications the way Google wants it linked.
That's great news for a lot of our listeners, our DVMs, who already has have that credential to their name, you can, make even more better use out of it through publishing real original content. Now, Naren, how should practices rethink their website and content strategy to stay relevant in an AI-driven discovery environment?
That's a great question. So, in an AI-driven environment, what are the no-nos, right? I already talked about one of the no-nos, which is, using AI-generated content or copied content. You do this, you go to jail. Forget it. You're not going to be seen. You're going to become invisible. You become, you get blacklisted. So, and the other mistake that people make is they try to focus on one particular page or one particular keyword. Now, Google used to look at every page individually. They had something called Google Lighthouse score. They gave that score. Now, Google replaced it with something called Google CRUX. Now, Google CRUX looks at your entire website and looks at if the entire website, it's almost like all or nothing. If your entire website doesn't comply with everything Google wants, you get penalized and you are not found. Why is that? Google realized that people, want context, want everything to be, making sense. So it's looking at your entire website. Is it loading fast? Does it have, detailed information? I'll get into the nuts and bolts. And if you don't have those things, it'll punish you. So the first thing is, focus on the user and what they really want. Don't try to gimmick Google by focusing on keywords, right? So a lot of people make the mistake of, just focusing on keyword versus being useful and giving people information on the topics they are interested in. So the people who do the right thing and do what Google want rank for hundreds of keywords. Every one of our clients, before the 12 months is out, is ranking for minimum 100. And today I have clients who rank for 600, 700 different searches and different search phrases that are very, very popular on Google. So this is what's called long tail. So when you focus on intent, you do end up dominating, not just like, let's say for a particular type of care, 30 different phrases or keywords and searches related to that. And you become overwhelming. And of course, when people see you again and again, this is why the top 3%, their cost of acquiring a new client is literally 10% of acquiring a new client with the alternative, which is Google Ads. The other thing I would focus on is, I already touched on it, first party, meaning it's real humans writing original content the way Google wants, linking it to your qualifications and doing it consistently, not doing it once and forgetting about it, but just continuing to add and become more and more useful. Google loves a site that continues to grow versus just somebody publishes it.
Naren, let's get near the mic.
And nothing happens afterwards. Do you want me to redo that question again?
No, you're on the point. I'm sorry I had to interrupt you because
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just redo that because I'm sure you have to cut the mic part. Sure. The next thing is, prioritize, human written content. We talked about, why Google punishes you if you use AI content, and also why Google punishes you if you use, duplicate content or copied content. So don't do that. It's original content, deep answers to deep questions like FAQs, showcase your knowledge, showcase your authority, and of course, link it to your bio. These are all things that Google really, really appreciates. Don't regurgitate, don't copy paste. And the other thing Google cares about is consistently doing something. Just like I said, consistently get reviews, consistently make sure your marketing companies adding the right kind of content that Google wants on a regular basis. Finally, I think we also have to realize that, if you are transactional and you are targeting this keyword or that keyword, you get penalized. And you want to make sure it's much more focused on making your consumers happy, giving them what they want. And also Google is looking at the full journey. And of course, so are ChatGPT and stuff. Can people easily book an appointment? Can they easily call you? Can they read your reviews? So are you kind of connecting the loop? Are you making it easy for people to do business with you? Of course, the technical side is also important. Like if your site doesn't load quickly, or, it's wonderful on, desktop, but it's not really wonderful on that tiny, phone screen, Chrome browser on this particular device. So Google and all these engines are looking at the experience. Are they going to love me for recommending that particular business, or are they going to hate me? If the person is going to love you because not just the reviews, but rather more importantly, their experience online is awesome, then you're going to get brownie points. So these are all the things you should focus on as we move more and more into this AI world.
Right. Thank you very much for those points there, Naren. I mean, now, let's get into some of the practical ways our veterinary practices can use AI internally to improve marketing efficiency without losing that human touch, which is so rare nowadays?
Yeah, this is really, really interesting. So some of the practical ways that veterinary practices can use AI internally to improve marketing is becoming more and more popular, right? I know we all heard of AI answering the phone. My experience, humans kind of get underwhelmed, especially new clients, when they feel like you don't value them enough to even have a human being answer the phone and be courteous and be helpful. So I'm not a huge fan of AI for answering phones. I do think a huge part of attracting and retaining the best clients who really care about their pets is the experience. So I do think when they call, you better appreciate them or honor them by answering the call with someone who knows what they're doing and who knows how to be courteous and who knows how to build a relationship. So there are some places where I wouldn't use AI. Of course, for reminders, I think especially if it's automated, like, hey, you have an appointment at 4, you can use technology to do that, right? Because they have an appointment at 4, there's no judgment, whatever. But when it comes to real, meaningful communication, you could use AI to draft emails. Let's say you have a client who hasn't showed up for a while. You want to send a nice text message and you want to personalize it based on what happened. You could use AI to draft it, but I wouldn't trust AI to send it. I really think a human has to read it, make sure it's making sense, because the problem is when AI makes a mistake, it's your fault. It's not the AI's fault. You can't say, oopsies, AI messed up. They blame you, the practice owner. So I really would have humans reviewing anything that is customized that's created by AI. Like for things like, pre-visit routing, you can use AI tools to help staff classify and organize inquiries and all the other stuff. But be careful. In the process of optimizing, you're not optimizing the wrong thing. One of the feedback I get from many of my clients who have played around with AI is sometimes AI optimizes the wrong thing. So it kind of increases the wrong kind of clients showing up, for example, or the wrong kind of things happening. So be careful where AI doesn't accelerate the wrong things, because remember, there are profitable clients and there are lifelong clients and not everybody is equal. And so you have to use intelligently. So don't use AI blindly where you just let somebody else think about it and do it and just press a button. Rather, you need to be engaged and you need to be involved in this. So yes, use AI outside of the patient journey, everything we covered about SEO and search and AI search and so forth, to make your practice efficient, but do it carefully and thoughtfully with a human overseeing things. Otherwise, I think it could really hurt you. Of course, AI still is new and we all know about some of the challenges. So that's why I said you have to be on top of it.
Now, being a full-time veterinarian, taking care of a practice as well, that in itself is like 3 full-time jobs right there. So for our practice owners listening in right now, right, who might feel a bit overwhelmed, might feel a bit stuck, wondering how to really prepare for the future, give us a good first practical step they should take today to ensure that their clinic thrives in this AI-driven landscape instead of getting left behind.
Absolutely. I do think you need to know how you are doing with regards to all. Like, for example, if you are ranking for 200 search terms and phrases on Google, you're more than likely going to do well on ChatGPT and everything else. But if you're not, if you're only ranking for 5 or 7 or 10, but you're not in the hundreds, that means you really have an opportunity to get into that top 3% and create an unfair advantage where your cost of acquiring a quality patient is literally 10 to 20% of those who are depending on ads. And the challenge with ads is it gets more expensive and people don't trust it. So you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find someone who trusts you. So for those reasons, I do think there is an advantage to get into that top 3%. And that's kind of has been our expertise. And we know within a year, every single client we have touched gets into the top 3% and ranks for 100 plus keywords. So have someone review you, right? Everything I talked about today in terms of some of the technical things. Are you using structured data? How are you doing with NAP? Are you using content the right way? Are you using EEAT? Are you optimizing your website for CRUX so that website provides a great experience? So these are all things you could go and figure it out, but you probably have to spend hours and hours. Our team will spend 6 hours doing the research. It's our gift to you. Go and have our team do that the research, tell you how you are doing, how your competition is doing, and then give you a roadmap so that you can dominate your market. So that's our gift to you. It's a $900 value. Like I said, we spent 6 hours researching you and your competitors. The link, I believe, is veterinarybusinessinstitute.com/MSM. veterinarybusinessinstitute.com/MSM.
Right. Thank you very much, Naren, for sharing that wonderful resource with our listeners. Absolutely make the best use of it. Go ahead and book that schedule right away and get yourself a great marketing plan and make 2026 the best year yet. Naren, thank you so much once again for joining us today. Thank you to everyone listening to the Veterinary Business Podcast. If you found this episode valuable, be sure to subscribe and stay connected for more conversations designed to help veterinary practice owners adapt, grow, and build stronger, more sustainable practices. I'm your host for the session, signing off, Don Adeesha. We'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone.